Hey guys, we are continuing in our technology series this Sunday. We're going to be talking about how technology has led to entertainment being extremely accessible and an easy idol in our culture. It's pretty obvious how that has transpired over the last 70 or 80 years or so, and especially in the last 20 or 30. Entertainment is widely available to all people at all times, and so it's easy for that to become the center of our lives. And so we're going to talk about that Sunday, look to try to understand entertainment from a biblical perspective, and then you guys are going to get into some more application-based questions in discussion groups. So questions are pretty straightforward this week. Actually, several of the first few are completely opinion-based. Hopefully this is an easy week for a lot of people to engage. I like weeks like this. This is a week where everyone in the room will struggle with this to some degree. We all will understand what it means to pursue entertainment. We'll all understand how we may have overused entertainment and idolized entertainment in our lives. I think that's something that no one's really immune to, which gives a freedom in discussion groups for people to actually open up and discuss, because they know I struggle with this, but I also know everybody else in the room is struggling with this. And so there should be a kind of freedom in sharing, hopefully, in discussion groups this week. We'll start out with that quick. If anybody has general thoughts or questions or comments, things that they want to focus on from the lesson, and just see if there's anything that needs clarity before you jump into the other questions. Second one is simple, short question. What's the most common form of entertainment that you use, and how often do you use it? So that could be video games, social media, streaming, TV, music, whatever it is, YouTube. What is the most common form of entertainment you engage with? When do you use it the most? How often do you use it? And then a step deeper than that is something that I'll touch on in the lesson. What are some areas and times where you often engage in entertainment, and you would like to see those being replaced with something edifying? So we're going to talk a lot about the biggest thing that pursuing entertainment steals from us is loving God with our minds. And we'll hit big on that at the end about how important it is for us to love and meditate on the reality of God with our minds, and how we need to maybe take a step back from some of the ways that we seek entertainment and then replace those with actual reading Scripture, praying, memorizing Scripture, reading a Christian book, listening to a Christian podcast, listening to a sermon, whatever it may be, but directing our minds towards God instead of pursuing kind of mindless, trivial entertainment. So that's just one or two things you're asking for a student to think. I usually watch a Netflix show. Actually, I watch 3 Netflix shows every single night. Maybe I could subtract one and do something else in that. And so you're looking for A, what are you going to take away, or what's something you could take away? And then B, what would you replace that with? So make sure that they think of, is that going to be replaced with Bible reading, memorizing a verse, reading a book, listening to a podcast, listening to Scripture, whatever it may be. Make sure they get both of those. I would encourage you guys as leaders, as I will myself, think of an answer to this question yourself. Again, I'm sure this is something we all struggle with to some degree. It's something that we should all evaluate in our lives. And so you can have an answer to this that's pretty simple, and again, create some more open environment for students to share. Question number 4 is another semi-opinionated question, just to get them to think more about entertainment and viewing it through a Christian lens, is what kind of boundaries or principles do you think would be wise for Christians to use when it comes to entertainment? We're going to talk mostly, actually exclusively, about frequency of how much we engage with entertainment in our lesson. We're not really going to focus on like the content of our entertainment. You could wrap that in here if people want to throw out what they think would be wise boundaries surrounding content or frequency for Christians. And those can be general principles. They can be more specific to their lives. But we're going to try to, again, in our lesson, pursue this is a Christian understanding of entertainment. This is how we should view it through a biblical lens. And then coming off of that, how do we actually apply that into our lives is kind of the questions you guys are mostly dealing with here. Question number 5, interesting question. How has this value on entertainment affected the church? And then a follow-up on that once you get into that question would be, what's the difference between being engaging and being entertaining? That's an important question for churches to understand. Churches have definitely fallen into this trap in our culture of pursuing entertainment, trying to just keep people entertained in worship services. That means that songs are picked more for what are people going to like, what are they going to be entertained by, what are they going to enjoy hearing, less about what's actually going to produce growth, what really proclaims truth through our songs. And so there's an imbalance in truth to entertainment value sometimes that worship pastors can go through. Same thing can happen in sermons. A pastor that's caught up in trying to be entertaining is a little more focused on how funny is my message? Are people really going to pay attention to my message? Things that are not necessarily stuff that should be totally off these guys' radars, but they become the focal point of, as long as people are actually focused during my message, as long as people walk away entertained by our music, then we've accomplished our goal. And that's obviously misguided. Oftentimes, those things happen to pastors, worship pastors, subconsciously, unknowingly. They're not intentionally doing that, but nevertheless, it still happens. Question number 6. In what ways does a biblical understanding of entertainment affect how we might speak the gospel to our culture? This is a question we've been trying to address kind of every week. This is technology shaping our culture. It's also shaping us at the same time. And once we understand how it's shaping our culture, how it's shaping us, what the Bible has to say about that, then what message does that mean we could bring to our culture that will resonate with what's going on in our culture right now? What kind of message do we want to bring across to them? And so that's something we won't really get into in our lesson this time. So I want you to hit quickly in discussion groups. I've got a few notes there, and I'm sure there's a couple more that you can think of as you listen to the lesson on Sunday, and probably a few more that students will come up with as well. Last question number 7. You may not get to all of these, but the first 3 or 4 are opinionated, really fast kind of questions. So there's more questions than usual this week. It's okay if you don't get through all of them, as always. Question number 7, does sacrificing entertainment to fix our minds on Christ mean that we're going to be less happy, less joyful, less entertained people in general? Again, this will be kind of the closing point. One of the main points in the message is that we need to fix our minds on Christ. We should, Romans 12, 1 and 2 will be that verse that we go to for that section. We should be not conformed to the world, but transformed through the renewing of our minds. And so if we're going to seek entertainment less and pursue engaging our minds in spiritual things more, does that mean we're going to be, less entertained, less happy, less joyful? And there's a lot of answers to this question. I've kind of built out in a couple bullet points for you here, a point from the lesson that I'm going to make, which is a comparison between most entertainment and junk food. and you can kind of build off of that. So just like junk food is usually, it's kind of a nearsighted view of, I'm going to enjoy this snack, this treat right now. I know it's not necessarily great for me down the line. In fact, it might be detrimental to me down the line or harmful to me in the future, but I'm going to enjoy it right now. It's kind of a right now view. Entertainment's the same way, in that we're saying, I know that probably most of the entertainment I engage with is not really productive for me in the future. It will keep me entertained for the next 30 minutes. And so I'm going to make that trade-off. And I think that you can pull out more from that example if you want to here. Just like naturally everybody can enjoy junk food. I just had my nieces in town that are 5 and 2, and you don't have to teach them to like chocolate and treats and junk food, but you do have to teach them to like vegetables and chicken and real food that we eat at dinner time. So everybody likes junk food. It usually takes more time to acquire a taste for real food, but you can do it, and you can do it so much so that you actually enjoy and appreciate real food more than you enjoy and appreciate junk food. You appreciate the fact that real food is better for you in the long run. You come to the realization that that's what you were actually made for. It's more filling to you. It's more satisfying to you. That's what you're created to live on. Just like your body responds better to real dinner instead of junk food, your soul will respond better to meditating on Christ instead of just mindless entertainment. So there's all sorts of these comparisons you can make that I've drawn out for you there in your notes. And again, I'm sure there are other answers to that question as well. But those are your discussion questions for this week. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I will see you on Sunday.